Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jieru, who I'm glad to introduce my project tonight. My project is about using land use regression model for dust production in Tucson, Arizona. This study investigates whether GIS-derived predictor variables help to increase or decrease dust pollution in Tucson in order to control further dust pollution and change to a healthy lifestyle. I will be following this outline of my project. So why dust is important? Dust, which is measured as particulate matters, is divided based on its size. Particle size up to 2.5 micrometers is called particulate matter 2.5, aka PM 2.5, same as PM10. Both particles are available to be inhaled in the respiratory system and harm to our health. PM 2.5 is also called fine particle because it is small enough to enter the lungs and sometimes even bloodstream. PM 2.5 particles cause 60,000 deaths in the United States every year. Some possible reasons that form particulate pollution. PM10 can be created by crushing and grading rocks and soil, then blowing by wind. For the fine particle, driving automobiles, burning plants, smelting and processing metals can all produce PM 2.5. The ESCAPE project has successfully used land use regression model for air pollution in Europe. The study measured concentrations of 4 kinds of particulate matters in 20 European areas. You can see those areas from the map, and there are 20 monitoring sites for each of these areas. I am replicating a portion of this project in Tucson. So, the study area is in Tucson, Arizona. The United States Environmental Protection Agency reports data for PM10 in 11 monitoring sites and PM 2.5 data for 8 monitoring sites in Tucson. City of Tucson is part of Tucson Basin. It has desert climate, it doesn't rain much, and has a high temperature. Combine the basin location and the desert climate, air pollution can be easily trapped in this city. In the location map, you can see where each monitoring site is. 5 sites records particles for both. 5 sites records data for both particles, and most of them are sitting beside the state roads. Tucson location would commonly have temperature inversion happen. Normally, wind is going from cold air to warm air. In Tucson Basin, mountains stop wind and shadow sun to keep the lower air cool. Therefore, air pollutants produced in the valley will be trapped and built up. By observing average annual particulate matters concentration for each monitoring site and the site's location, temperature inversion does have an influence on air pollution in Tucson. I choose particulate matter data from 2010 to 2014, over 5 years. Because there are more than 1 records for each monitoring site, I took off all records with 1 hour sample duration. Then calculate the coefficient of variation of all remaining data and save the smallest coefficient of variation value data for each of sites. In total, over 50 variables are tested for the relevance to annual PM10 and PM 2.5 value in Tucson. They are classified into several categories, like growth, population density, and land use type. The GIS analysis is mainly goes through 4 steps. First, create multiple buffers around monitoring sites. Then intersect buffers with each GIS-derived data and update geometry. finally calculate total area for land use data or total length for roads and washes. After recording all data in an Excel table, I can start to run land use regression model by SPSS. A supervised stepwise selection method is used in this study. First, using variant regression to test each predictor variable to see which variable has the most strongly relationship with dust pollution data and which variable does not have relationship. Next, putting all related variable into a multilinear regression to find out the combination of most influential elements for the dust pollution. The result of land use regression model is concluded into this table. Variance inflation factor indicates collinearity. I need to watch its value every time I run the model to make sure it keeps lower than 2, so there won't be too much interaction between predict variables. P-value refers to an error rate. So the smaller p-value is the more reliable relationship between variable, predict variable, and dust pollution data. R-square variation shows that the land use regression model result can explain how many % of influence to dust pollution data. The land use regression model result for PM10 is more stable than PM2.5. It shows that the most influential factors are remaining in industry and transportation each year. Land use regression result for PM2.5 gives that the most influential variable changes every year, and they are categorized as barrier land, vacant land, population density, and multiple family residential area. Barrier land and vacant land have an inverse relationship with pollutant concentration. On the contrary, population density and multiple residential area increase pollutant concentration. The model results for PM10 shows that the most influential elements are industry and transportation. Public land reduce pollutant concentration, but it's only obvious in 2010. Transportation variables effect on pollutant mostly in certain range between buffers in 500 meters and 1,000 meters. There are some places can be improved for this study in the future. More monetary sites help to a more accurate analysis result. More relevant predictor data such as average vehicle amount, annual total vehicle emission would be more valuable than simply total length of roads. A longer study period would be help to find a change on both dust pollution data and predict variables. So the conclusions are industry and transportation as the greatest influence of dust concentration in Tucson, and both of them have an increasing influence in dust pollutants in recent years. Human daily activities do not contribute to PM10 concentration as much as industrial activities. The vegetation area does not decrease pollutants significantly, and PM2.5 concentrations are affected more by population density. And that's all about my project. Thank you for your listening. Is there any question?